President Truman asked Earl Harrison to go in the DP camp and report on the situation in there. Earl Harrison, in the summer of '45, so just as the fight has finished, wrote a long report. And I'd like to just take a quote to put you in the mood. As matters now stand in June '45, we, Americans and Allied, we appear to be treating the Jews as the Nazi treated them, except we do not exterminate them. Bergen-Belsen was the largest DP camp after the war. For many years, the DP camp stayed for about a dozen years after the war. Bergen-Belsen was closed only in '51. Bergen-Belsen was located in the British section, and consequently under British administration, which didn't specially favor the situation of Jews, which at some point reached 11,000 in the camp. The situation of Jews who wanted to go to Palestine, the best destination for them and the most thought of. So the camp was really a vacation. In the control of the camp, Brits called on Canadian capacity and used them to make the camp run. Even though the Canadian participation or presence has been acknowledged through the years, it has always been marginalized. And Mark Celinscak had to go and dig meticulously in a lot of small archives, and very few archives, as a matter of fact, but more and more on private documents, to really establish what the Canadians did, were forced to do, were responsible to do, and has this book correct the image of what was the presence and activities and valued apport of Canadian in Bergen-Belsen for all those years. So, Mark Celinscak. That was the quotation you expected.
Well, thank you for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be home. And by home, I mean not only Canada, I mean not only Toronto, and I mean not only York University, but I also mean the Center for Jewish Studies, which I've long considered to be my intellectual home. I want to thank the organizers of this event, as well as the jury, and I offer my congratulations to the other award winners. It really is an honor to have my book listed alongside such impressive literature. I'd also like to take this time to thank both my paid editor, Len Husband of the University of Toronto Press, and my long-time, long-suffering, unpaid editor, my sister Stephanie, who is here with my mom, Colleen, and younger sister, Stacy. It was almost exactly 14 years ago, in September 2008, in my third year in the PhD program in humanities at York, that I emailed the Clara Thomas Archives I was trying to piece together part of a puzzle for my doctoral dissertation, which was exploring British responses to the liberation of the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in northwest Germany. During my research, I kept coming across the names of various Canadians who somehow became involved at the camp. But really, that's all that I had, names and not much else. And so I contacted the archives here at York and took a shot. Did they hold any material relating to Canadians who were in Germany at war's end? The answer that I received changed the course not only of my research, but really my life and my career. I was informed that the archive not only had letters by a Canadian who was in Germany in 1945. In fact, he wrote extensively about Bergen-Belsen. Surprised, I made an appointment to review the material. The discovery of those letters was a revelation. They were a sign that my research was about to take an interesting turn, and it encouraged me to push further, and I worked to incorporate the untold Canadian aspect of the liberation. Kingdom of Night represents a compilation of a 15-year-long journey to detail, to reveal, and examine the Canadian involvement at the liberation of the Bergen-Belsen concentration camps. Some of the primary accounts presented in the book were indeed found in local, provincial, and national archives, but many, many more were located in a lot of different ways, from lifelong friends of the dearly departed, comrades in arms, neighbors, children, grandchildren, even great-grandchildren. I have been given access to rare, often never before examined documents relating to one of the 20th century's most horrific crimes. And it has allowed me to tell a story that I think has long been ignored in Canadian history. Liberation was a transformative experience for both liberators and survivors. Their lives intersected in unexpected ways, and neither liberator nor survivor would ever be the same again. In closing, I'd like to share part of an account that ends Kingdom of Night. It was written by Abraham Brenner of Montreal, who was in the Royal Canadian Corps of Signals. After the war, Brenner was stationed in Hanover, Germany. He and some of his fellow soldiers learned that there was a small Jewish community of survivors nearby. Brenner and 9 others traveled to Bergen-Belsen, where they attended a Yom Kippur service in one of the few Jewish communities remaining after the Holocaust. Brenner writes, and I quote, "There we were, 10 Jewish Canadian soldiers. Being informed that there were many fellow Jews in nearby Belsen, we unanimously agreed to go over there. After traveling about 30 kilometers, we reached the notorious camp that the world should never forget. During the service, Kol Nidre was sung, but not in the manner that we were used to hearing it back home. It was heartrending. The rabbi chanted with such broken emotion and tears in his voice that we shall never forget the scene that we witnessed. The responses of the congregation rang out loudly, that at times it almost sounded as if they were being shouted for the whole world of Jewry to hear. When the time came for the Kaddish to be said, there was not a member in the congregation who did not recite for a mother, father, wife, husband, or child. It was as if the whole were in mourning. On forthcoming Yom Kippurs that we hope to celebrate someday in Canada, these scenes that we were able to see of what has been done to a people just because they were Jews will always live in our memories." Signed, one of the 10, Signalman Abraham Brenner. End quote. And with that, I thank you.